This aircraft, there are 6 emergency exits.
Hello, everybody. This is Rod, your captain speaking. We are currently 30,000 feet in the air, and we haven't even left the airport. We just lit the joint. Just kidding, a little pilot humor there. We like to have fun. Our destination today is Casablanca, Morocco. So everyone, sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for takeoff. We will be arriving in 6 hours.
Going on, 7-Footers gang? It is Jenna and Jarod here, back for a fresh NBA season for episode 93. 93, baby.
93.
What are we doing for 100?
And I don't know, guys. With 7 more episodes to go, so episode 100 will be sometime soon. It'll be probably sometime next month. We got to think of something fun to do. I don't know.
Don't worry, I'll plan the party.
Oh Lord, listen, we still in a COVID environment. What kind of party you planning out here?
Maybe virtual, I guess. But guys, per usual, what you didn't see behind the scenes was me literally peeing my pants because I had technical difficulties per usual.
Wait, shocking that Jenna had technical difficulties.
And I had to do all these updates on my computer so you guys can hear and see me better. And I was literally on my hands and knees in my kitchen praying that this was the last update because I already delayed the episode by 15 minutes. So.
And she knew I was going to literally come through the screen and murder her.
Oh, I was literally terrified. I was about to call my parents and say goodbye. Literally. But we have to say goodbye to Kevin Durant. For a few days.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, damn, you're acting like it's, For
a few days in the league. Guys, we got to talk about the newest headlines, NBA and COVID and the non-bubble trying to fight the COVID experience right now because it's already running through the nets, apparently. So now we have Kevin Durant listed as out, guys, all right, under the health and safety protocols kind of excuse there against Utah on the 5th.
Tonight.
So he's going to be out, tonight that we're filming this. So, yeah, he's facing a 7-day quarantine, guys, and that's under the league's protocols now. So that's what Woj reports with ESPN. And this is going to be a little bit of a hit for the Nets. And now, he had the coronavirus in May, though, guys.
Yeah.
So that's also an interesting factor here. And he continues to register antibodies, according to this same ESPN report, and has tested negative multiple times. Now, he'll miss 4 games, so the Nets will take a hit. And now, Woj also said that players can have family members and those living in close contact regularly tested, and once someone tests positive for the virus, the player is placed in quarantine. Now, Durant, as we said, has passed multiple tests, sources say, but the rules don't distinguish between those who have had the virus compared to those who have not. So you know how you hear those things which they say people who've had the virus can contract it and this and that and X, Y, Z. Well, that does not apply to the NBA. They do the same blanket rule for those who have had and had not COVID. So now, Kevin Durant had exposure, guys. Let's confirm that, first of all. And what kind of loss is this for the Nets, Jarod? I mean, we have no Durant for the next 4 games, so that's going to be Philadelphia, Memphis, and Oklahoma City, and, of course, tonight for the Jazz. So let's talk about this a little bit. I
mean, first off, it's and you went through a good job of explaining the detail there, right? Let's be clear, because friend of the show, Felix of Basketball Society, texted me, yo, Jay, what does this mean? Does this mean that Kevin Durant broke league rules and protocols? And I'm like, no, that's not what it means. It means that he came into contact with someone who had a positive test. Now, to Jenna's point that you just made so perfectly, Durant already had COVID last year in the spring, right? And so he continues to register antibodies for COVID-19. And as you said, he has passed several tests and has been testing negative for the past several days. However, the league is just dotting all its I's and crossing all its T's because the science is still unclear about whether or not, even if you've already had it and if you've come in contact with somebody, can you still spread it? We don't know. Right, that's the answer. So instead of taking a chance, well, it doesn't matter if you had it or not have it. You've got to quarantine for 7 straight days. And once you quarantine for 7 straight days and you register negative tests for those consecutive 7 days, then you can come back and join the team. And from a basketball standpoint, this is problematic for the Nets, right? Because they're a team that's trying to build chemistry and camaraderie right now, and togetherness. And not having your best player when your team is pretty much all new guys, that's a challenge for them right now. They're not playing well, particularly defensively. They're fine on offense. If you watch them, they score more than enough points. They're just not guarding anybody.
He's averaging 28 points right now.
Right. He's fine. Kyrie's, again, offensively, they are fine. It's the defensive side of the ball that they're not doing well on. And Kevin's actually been playing good defense, so it's really the other guys. And so now, in these 4 games, and this week especially, tonight against the Jazz, we mentioned the night we're recording this, they play the league-leading Philadelphia 76ers on Thursday, Memphis, and Oklahoma City. Like, those are 4 games that they're going to have to find a way to, at a minimum, come out of that 2-2, right? Because you figure the Jazz are good, the Sixers are good. It's going to be really hard to beat them without Kevin Durant. But what they can do, and Coach Steve Nash said this earlier today, right before we started recording, he did his pregame media availability that I was there for. They have to find some positives and some wins. And those positives and wins are improving on the defensive end. The only way they're going to stay in the game tonight against the Jazz and Thursday night against Philadelphia is on the defensive side of the ball. And they're going to have to start figuring out what they're doing defensively as a unit. And so this will be an interesting test for them. But I think if your goal is to win a championship, these are the growing pains and different things you have to go through as a team to get yourself on the right side. So, and it's specifically challenging for the Nets because, as I said, again, they're a new team. Almost every NBA squad this year is playing 17 games this month, just about, in 31 days. Well, what that basically means is you're playing every other night, and there is no practice time. So, because you need a day of rest, right? You can't play Monday, practice Tuesday, and play Wednesday. If you're playing Monday, that means you're off Tuesday, and you're playing again Wednesday. And there's going to be a back-to-backs in there somewhere as well. So that's the challenge that the Nets and every team has to face. But what makes it more challenging for them is that they're all new. So they're still learning each other. So games are like practice for them, which is a problem because they count. So it's going to be a challenging experience for them for sure.
Interesting. Before, did you say league leading
Philadelphia? I in fact did say that. I in fact said that they are the league leading, and they are. They have the best record in the league right now, number 1 defensive rating. Look, I mean, we're early, right?
Propped up. I was like, oh.
We're like what?
First time I've heard that.
We're 6 games in. Let's not lose our minds. But
hey, Philly fans, I tried. It was nice. I tried to throw you a bone, and Jarod just snatched it. So let's go back to the Durant and Nets conversation really quick, because we have to note that if Kevin Durant continues to test negative for COVID-19, the soonest he can return is January 12th against the Denver Nuggets.
Yes.
So we'll hopefully see him back as soon as January 12th. But again, he's been on an offensive tear. He's averaging 28 points, 7 rebounds. I mean, 4 assists, I think it was, that I read. So it's definitely going to take a hit offensively. And as you mentioned, defensively, the Nets aren't really producing. And I think that you also mentioned on the last podcast that we did on our Eastern Conference preview that Kyrie doesn't play defense.
No.
That's what you said.
That's correct. Yes.
Just want to confirm.
Yes, he does not. So he's gonna have to take up the mantle and play defense. He's had moments this season though where he has shown a willingness to be more engaged on that side of the ball, and he can do it. Look, he doesn't need to be an all NBA defender. That's not. But like, you've got to be engaged on that side of the ball, and the team's got to be connected and on a string, and that's where they're gonna have to build those habits. These 4 games while Durant's out.
And also the loss of Spencer Dinwiddie with the partially torn ACL does not help. So he is surely missed on the court.
No doubt. It's so funny, right? Like, and we'll get into this with our early season observations. No need to panic for any team anywhere, right? We're 6 games in for most teams. Right. Let's not lose our minds. Like, but you want to start seeing some signs of some things. If your goal is to be a contender, right? You want to start building and seeing those habits start to form.
Yeah. So we'll see what the Nets can do, but I'm excited to see, again, this will come up in our observations, but I'm excited to see some certain things from them. Teaser right there. So let's segue into a different type of COVID topic here, because our guy Baxter Holmes of ESPN put out a wonderfully in-depth written piece about how the NBA's teams' health officials are struggling to balance COVID-19 protocols on top of their everyday jobs. This is specifically important. When I read this piece, it really, really, really concerned me for the status of the players' health, Now, throughout the season, throughout this entire season, throughout, I should say, COVID-19 completely, because basically, summing this article up in a couple words here, basically across the NBA, team officials and health members, they're mentioning, and it's apparently a blanket type of feeling across the league, that they can't do their jobs to the best of their ability. Some guys have even said, according to sources who decided to remain anonymous in this article, that they haven't touched players in 2 weeks because they haven't even gone through all of their protocols, which means these players aren't getting rehabbing. These players aren't getting the type of treatment that they need, which is half of the preparation aside from practice and the physicality of the game itself. So I really want to hear your thoughts on this and kind of see what you know and pick your brain, because this is extremely worrisome and it really concerns me.
Absolutely, Jenna. And Baxter, again, ESPN's Baxter Holmes did a wonderful job. Shouts to him on this piece.
Yes.
Look, as you know, Jenna, and I said this, I was concerned from the beginning about the season restarting so quickly, right? Because you remember I said that's a short turnaround time. And these guys need to have time to rest and heal their bodies. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Now with all these COVID-19 protocols, and what this means is what's happening is that the teams have a variety of people that work in the front office and on the basketball side, right? You've got coaches, you've got your athletic training and performance staff. Now, no two teams' athletic and performance staffs are created the same. Some teams have a very robust staff. Some teams have the bare minimum, a head athletic trainer, maybe one or two other people, and that's it. Well, here's where the problem lies. If that's what you do as a team, and you are now in charge of doing health and safety protocols for your players and everyone who comes into contact in the arena, which includes daily testing, getting the results, right, and doing all these various things, those are added responsibilities that you have to do to your already on top of your job, which is to maintain the health of your players without a pandemic, right? Yeah. So if you're a small staff, of course you're overworked. So maybe this player needs a little bit more time, or he needs extra time with the trainer, but he's not getting it. Yeah, he's getting his stimulation, but maybe that stimulation is happening on his own, right? The trainer straps him up to whatever fancy gizmo they have, and he leaves because he's got to go finish his COVID, emails. They have to go into league officials. Yeah. Well, you can see how that's a problem, because the trainer needs to be monitoring, getting feedback from the player. Oh, is that too much? Let me adjust it. Let me do this, right? Let me engage with you. Like, when you're dealing with health, that is a two-way street, right? Like you engage with the person that is helping you manage your injury and deal with your physical therapy and whatever that it is. But if that person has got 75 million other things they're doing, it makes it difficult. So again, the teams that have robust athletic training and performance staffs are going to be better off than the teams that don't. It's still a lot of work regardless, but they're going to do better. And this is concerning. If I were a fan of a team, I would be greatly concerned. As someone who enjoys the league as a whole, of course, player safety is very concerning to me. Like, and especially now with this quick turnaround time, as I said the injuries were going to mount. I already said that, and we're seeing it already. So it's something that bears keeping an eye on.
100%, and it's going to be interesting too, because injuries are devastating in themselves, but this is a particularly special season where it's the worst season to probably have an injury or get an injury. Because per the article, one of Baxter's sources, it was a head athletic trainer in the Western Conference, said, quote, there will be some decline in player health care, which is true. So they assume at this point. So again, and let me just add that in the article, Baxter also states that all of these sources that he gathered that spoke to ESPN, nobody blamed the NBA or its protocols. This is that they understand it's an extraordinary situation and that has high demands, but it is definitely taxing on the mental health and I'm assuming the physical health of both parties.
No doubt. And think about this, Jenna. Like, so these people that work in the athletic and performance side of the teams, they're, because of this extra job responsibilities with COVID protocols, they're now overworked. They're going to be more tired. being more tired leads to more mistakes, right? Like you see what I'm saying? Like it's a domino effect. It's not just one isolated thing. All right, so the players won't get no. It's a compounding thing that could potentially happen, and this is where we're at right now. And of course, no one's blaming the league. You have to have these protocols in place. But this is the thing, right? When you have the NBA, which is a multi-billion-dollar business, and these owners are out here going, no, we have to play these games. So we have to make up this money that we lost. This is sometimes the unintended consequences that may happen, and this is something again that bears repeating. And we'll discuss money again later on in today's episode for sure.
100%. All right, guys, we got to jump into our observations. We are 6 games in, but I see a lot. Jarod sees a lot, and I know y'all see a lot because you guys go on that Twitter thing and you rile out those opinions. Some I like more than others. But yeah, we gotta dish it to you guys. And we decided to keep it short and sweet here, but we're gonna dish out 2 different things that have surprised us so far in the premature early start here. So Gerard, you go first. Take the first one away. What has surprised you in the start of the new season?
The first thing I'll say is, again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, it's too early for us to draw any inferences or conclusions about what we're seeing. We have a small sample size, right? 5, 6 games. It's a small sample size theater. When we get to about 15 to 20 games, then we can start looking at and saying, okay, if this is what we're seeing, a pattern developing over 15, 20, then we can start saying, okay, here are things that we should look at and be concerned about, whatever. But the one thing I will say that I have my eye on is what is going on in Toronto with the Raptors. I figured that's one of yours, huh?
I literally have right here on my show notes, Raptors 1-5 start. What the hell?
Again, I don't want to get alarmed because it's only six games, but they're not playing well. And namely, what's happening, Pascal Siakam isn't playing well. And really, he hasn't played well since post All-Star last year, right? So it's been, and into the bubble, he was terrible, and that's continued. And he has lost a lot of the smile and joy that he plays with. You can see, like, the pressure is wearing on him of being a number one guy. And you and I say this all the time, Jenna. It's hard to be a number one guy in this league. Like, really, really hard. Because every night you're getting the other team's best defender, and if your skills are not requisite to be able to handle that, it's tough. And Pascal's struggling right now, and he's struggling too defensively. He's fouling a lot. He's fouling out of games, and there's a lot happening with him right now. And I think Masai Ujiri is, keeping an eye on this. Look, it's not like Toronto's like we're getting rid of Pascal or anything like that. It's more like, okay, can we find someone else to come in here to help ease and take off that load off of Pascal's shoulders, right? Like, because what we're seeing is, and again, early, but what I think we're seeing is he might be miscast as a number one. He might be a number 2, right? Which means, can we get a number 1 guy in here? Or maybe he's a 1A. Can we get another 1A kind of guy in here to help him? Because it isn't Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry. As much as I love those guys, they're small, right? Like, small dudes cannot be your lead guys. Like, it's very difficult when your little guys are your lead offensive weapons. You have, there's a tax you pay, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, and their body type cannot handle that kind of domination, right? It throughout a whole full regular season and in the playoffs. So that's one thing I'm looking at is what's going on in Toronto. I'm just keeping an eye. Not alarmed yet, but I'm watching. Right.
Well, I have the same. I mean, I'm echoing all of your points, of course. I agree. The 1-5 start is not fun. It's not a fun way to start the season. I hope this doesn't set the tone, which, again, that's what's so great about the NBA. There's so many games that you can afford to make mistakes in the beginning. But, again, I just hope that these are just mistakes. It feels like yesterday they were champions. And, yes, they're Kawhi-less. There's very different circumstances happening. But Pascal got paid. And with that pay up and that number 1 tag comes that pressure, like you said, which he seems to be cracking under, but there's no room for that at this point. If you want to win another chip, and you got to deliver. I mean, And I love Nick Nurse as a coach. I hope he's able to fix this or do something. And yeah, I have here in my show notes too. No evolution from Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet. I mean, Kyle Lowry, you're going to be the heart and soul of this team, but like you said, he's not that guy. They need another piece. They need a trade piece. They need a major piece. I don't know what, who, where, when, and why. They need a piece.
They do.
And that's that.
Well, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying I've heard anything. Keep an eye on the James Harden situation, and we'll get to that when we talk about the latest James Harden saga.
You know what? God damn, I can see that.
But anyway,
the beard up in the sticks.
You go with your second observation.
Okay, my second observation is gonna spill into our next conversation, as you can see in the show notes. But whatever. I had to do it because I do have a philosophical point to end on.
Okay.
The Curry slander. The Curry slander. While this team, they went from really, really, really good to really, really, really bad and suffered in a series of fortunate events, we could probably make another sequel out of it. But that was the movie, not the injuries, by the way. Just wanted to clarify that because my mind was like, oh no, I'm going to get trolled. But anyway, like, did y'all really think the greatest shooter that this game has ever seen was out of gas? The comments, the slander, the memes, everything, the internet's funny, but when it comes to Steph Curry, like, really? Really? Y'all are so easy to just jump and just be influenced by certain things, okay? And he dropped, 62, came back. Yes, we're recording this after the 62-point game, so don't call me, washed up and this information's old and whatnot. Yeah, he came back, dropped 62. So again, to my point even further, I just don't get the Curry slander. But the philosophical point that I'm ending on is, like, I don't know if it's the way the game is played anymore, the popularity of so many people in the game, or the year, age, generation, whatever type of society we're living in, but people are so quick to write you off, shut you down, cancel you. Why weren't we talking about everything that the Curry Foundation has just done? Why aren't we talking about Steph Curry and how good his evolution can be running this team without Klay Thompson? Why aren't we talking about yeah, you see where I'm going with this. But like, come on. Sometimes you just get sick of it.
So here's what I'll say, and it's fine that we talk about this now because my second observation is the final point of the final bullet point in our show notes. So look, the people online being crazy, being like, oh, this is about Steph's legacy and all that, like, stop. The dude's got 2 MVPs, first ever unanimous MVP, 3-time champion. Like, his legacy is set, changed the game of basketball. But what we do have in this culture and society is very much a tendency and some kind of sick need to, when we build someone up, tear them down. Like that, it's something that, like, as human beings, we just do. It's like, oh, they've been winning too much, so you're now waiting for them to fall, right? You're because you're looking forward to it. It's this odd thing we do as human beings. Look, the reality of the situation is the Warriors, they're a different team now. They're no longer the 2015, 2016, right? Like, we won the title, the 73-win team that did lose in the finals, by the way, blowing a 3-1 lead. Have to point that out. And then having the KD and having Kevin Durant, right? They're no longer that team. As owner Joe Lacob likes to say, light years ahead. Like, you remember, like, that's who they are. They're going to dominate the league for a decade or whatever. And it's like, you know better than making proclamations like that. Nothing lasts forever. That's just not how this works. Like, injuries happen, trades, whatever. It's just the nature of the beast. You cannot sustain that kind of level of excellence for that long. The run was great. Enjoy it. What I do think about Curry from certain fans' perspective is they kind of like him getting his comeuppance a little bit, right? Because, Steph was the guy shimmying and turning around before the ball went in the basket and, like, all the preening and showboating that great players do, which, again, mind you, I have no issue with that. Because my thing is always, if you don't like him doing that, then stop him, right? Like, Very now easier said than done, but hey, if it bothers you that much as an opponent, then just stop them from doing it, and then you don't got to worry about it.
Right,
so
shut
now,
him down.
and so as fans, since you cannot stop him because you're not on the court, your next best thing is you revel in the fact that his team sucks again. Like that makes you, like, for whatever reason, that makes you feel good because you're unhappy about your situation, right? Your team is probably trash and they're not playing well. So this makes you feel better about your team and like the situation that you're in as an NBA fan. But ultimately, look, again, the legacy talk, silly, ridiculous. You know, his legacy is cemented. I do think, and you know, we'll do this on another pod sometime.
Right.
What'll be very interesting is the actual legacy of Steph Curry and what that is and who he is as a player. And when you talk about all-time ranking and that sort of thing, because that's when the nuance comes out, right? And I've talked about this before. You know, we all know LeBron James, the greatest player of this generation. That's unassailable. And he's in the conversation with only two other people to be the greatest player of all time, right? So, you know, okay, here we go with the GQ cover shoot again. But when you start talking about where Steph Curry ranks in relation to that, obviously he's not in that pantheon with those three guys, with LeBron, Jordan, and Kareem, right? The question is, where does he rank, right? Is he a top 10 guy? Is he a top 15 guy all the time? Like, those are the questions. And his story is still being written, so time will tell. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the thing, and that's so when you talk about Curry now, it's nuance. It isn't about, you're not comparing him to Avery Bradley, like, no disrespect, but like, you know, not people like that. We're talking about among the all-time greats. How do you dissect his game and break it down, and where does he fit amongst those types of people? And again, that's a conversation for a different day.
Oh yeah, 100%. Side note too. Got to put that in my pocket for later. That's what we should do. We should do like mini pods on, dissecting certain little things. Again, we're not, ESPN 30 for 30 here. Like, I think that'd be fun. A fun conversation, cool debate. Yeah. Guys, side note. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, another thing that we're also surprised about too. Going on right now, and again, 6 games in, but teams are getting blown out.
Yeah, so that was
like the Clippers.
Yeah, so that was my other observation as the blowouts. But here's what we're gonna see though. I think we're gonna see a lot of variance in these games, Jenna, and the blowouts are gonna continue. And part of that is that the league, almost every team, almost all 30 teams play similar styles in the sense that everyone shoots threes now and shoots a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And since you do that, and because the three-point shot is such a high variance shot, if a team is hot from three and their opponent gets down 20 early, it's going to be very hard for that team in the environment of the arenas now, with no fans and all of that, to find the requisite juice to pump themselves up to make those kind of comebacks, right? And you're seeing it a lot in these blowouts. Once that team gets up early, the other team very rarely has the ability to come back, and it's tough, especially if it gets into that 20 point range. And, it's such a bizarre sight, and I might be writing something for True Hoop about this, on seeing these arenas. I was watching the 76ers the other day, and the arena's empty. I mean, not empty. The players are there and the support staff, whatever, but no fans. But the DJ is there, the mascot, like the dancers, and I'm like, this is so bizarre looking. And it's like, it's just such a weird, like, convergence of things, and the energy just seems so strange, and it's just constant pump music, and I'm like, but are they feeling pumped up right now? It's all bizarre and weird, and I think all of that factors into the early season blowouts that we're seeing, and they're going to continue. We always say, Jenna, difference between regular season basketball and playoff basketball, and this year I think the casual fan is going to see that even more than normal.
Yeah,
you're going to see a lot of blowouts and think, oh, the Bucks got blown out by the Charlotte Hornets, like whatever. I mean, that may not happen, but something similar like that. And it's like, well, the Bucks aren't that good, and it's like, no, you'll see, because when the playoffs happen, and let's say Charlotte happens to make a play-in game or whatever, and they face the Bucks, they're gonna get dump trucked, right? It's just you'll see the difference there, but these weird one-off things will happen just because I think this season is so weird, and because of the quick turnaround time in the offseason, we're gonna continue to see a lot of blowouts like this.
Oh my God, I was gonna say, how crazy do you want to get here with these blowouts? Charlotte and the Bucks? Now
Listen.
watch Melo go off for like I don't even know.
Listen,
40.
stranger things have happened.
Right? Yeah, like the whole 2020 past year. Um, but yeah, I agree, and the energy is definitely shifting. And you know what? Too side note as well, it's gotta suck to be a rookie, and this is your rookie year.
Yeah, it's
You know,
hard. Yeah.
because there's no. Again, I act like I know this. I'm 5 foot, but I'm sure there's no other feeling than walking on the court. Your first time, or your first time stepping in Staples Center and things like that.
Yeah.
And there's a
It's
whole
different.
rocking crowd, and
Yeah.
you see these jerseys up there, and everybody's screaming. I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
it's different. It's a very different feel, and it's much like how the Lakers were the most professional team last year, and they were the most sort of like together, and they knew they were on a mission in the bubble. Whoever wins the title this year, it's gonna be the same thing, right? One, they're gonna really manage the COVID situation as well as they possibly can, right? Limit about a lot of time with players being out, and they're gonna be together and cohesive, and of course playing their best basketball when it matters most.
Heck yeah. And before I start with my beloved gossip segment that I know y'all missed, let me just say, because I need to get it on record early on, because it's going to be so much sweeter when it happens, and I can play this back on loop and then send it to you and put it in your mailbox. If and when LeBron James wins this next title,
Oh Lord, here we go.
it will have been the two like COVID-ridden titles, and I will literally need to be hospitalized. I just don't. There's
Oh,
no other
boy.
option. There's no other option. That's just that. So
Oh boy.
Can't wait. All right, ding ding ding. Still haven't gotten my music yet. But we got to talk about the gossip going around the league, guys, because this is where I shine and thrive. Now, we got to talk first about my guy, Shaq, and Rudy Gobert, because there were some savage comments by Shaq, which even I read it and was like, dang, Shaq, you bad, but this is bad. Like, damn. All right, so we had Shaquille O'Neal here. He went after Rudy Gobert a little bit and kind of attacked him verbally, of course, for his monster 5-year, $205 million extension that he signed with the Jazz. We covered it on the show.
Mhm.
I even asked if it was a little too much. I guess me and Shaq have the same mind. Because this happened on a podcast. Shaq said on the All Things Covered podcast, quote, "I'm not going to hate, but this should be an inspiration to all the little kids out there. You average 11 points in the NBA and you can get $2 million too." So,
200 million. Yeah.
200 million. Yeah. What did I say? 200?
You said 2 million. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. 200 million. Sorry. I was a couple off there. Anyway, Shaq also took another dig at him and said, quote, "I would have 45 points, 16 rebounds, 10 missed free throws in 3 quarters, and he would have had 11 points, 4 rebounds, and fouled out in 3 quarters. I'm a G." Here. Okay.
Look.
Rudy kept it playful. Rudy kept it fun. He just said, playful, short comments. But he clarified today that there is no beef between the two. It was hysterical, though. Shaq is absolutely savage.
So Shaq's a funny dude. We both had the pleasure of meeting him and talking to him. Like, he's a funny guy, and this is part of his shtick, right? It's he, especially big men. Like, he loves to come on TNT inside the NBA and do his thing, and basically knock all the big men that play right now and take digs at them and all this sort of thing. And it's funny for laughs and jokes and whatever. But, part of the problem with this is that it causes the casual fan to sort of do the same thing and not realize and recognize the value that someone like Rudy Gobert actually brings to a team, right? Like,
Right.
when the Gobert extension got announced, my cousin texted me, "What? 5 years, 200 for Rudy Gobert?" And it's like, and because the casual fan, all they think about are counting stats, right? Points, rebounds, assists. Like, that's all they think about in their head, like offense. Even though we know half the game is played on defense, right? Like, when you don't have the ball, you got to be guarding people. Rudy is the best defensive big man, maybe of this generation. Like, he is so good on that side of the ball. And he's an excellent rim-running center in pick-and-roll action. He has been a multiple-time defensive player of the year. multiple-time All-NBA center. Like, Rudy's very good. Is he the offensive force that Shaq was? No. Is he as good as Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic? Those people? Hell no. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have value, right? And I think that's the thing. Like, yeah, he may not dominate the game from that offensive perspective, but Rudy provides a ton of value, and he's very valuable to the Utah Jazz, right? Like, they don't, as good as Donovan Mitchell is, they don't make the playoffs without Rudy Gobert. Like,
no.
The reason why they're so good defensively is because of Rudy Gobert, right? Like, his ability to grab rebounds, protect the paint, right, and play stout defense. That is what makes the Jazz an excellent team. And so that's just my whole piece with that. So the whole idea, so Shaq can be funny and tell his jokes and all that, but it's like, hey, casual fan, like, don't just be so quick to fall on that. Like, look into deeply, like, how valuable Rudy Gobert actually is. Now, you can quibble with the fact that that extension was too high, but again, once you meet certain criteria, like All-NBA Defensive Player of the Year, that triggers the Supermax extension. That's what the CBA calls for. Now, the Jazz could have not paid him, but he's worth that for them. For them, that matters because Utah isn't a free agency destination. Guys ain't just signing up to go, let me go play in Utah. So anyone they have that's really good, they have to make sure they keep them in town and hope they can figure out trades and other stuff to make their team better. So.
Love it. Love a good Shaq beef. But now we have to move on to
oh Lord,
juicier topics, because as we reminded you guys a few weeks ago, there was some feathers getting ruffled in the NBA with Larsa Pippen, and
she wilding out here.
Scottie Pippen's ex-wife. They're still estranged. The divorce isn't finalized yet, by the way. FYI.
So technically, they're still married. He's not even. They're still married.
Yes. So, we told you guys over Thanksgiving, a little bit before, she was spotted out with the Minnesota Timberwolves' Malik Beasley. All right. At the time, they were spotted holding hands, in that shopping mall in Miami where Larsa lives now, because she moved from LA because the Kardashians hate her. No, I'm kidding. I don't know if that's why
probably
she moved.
True.
But the timing was ironic. Anyway, so yeah, they're caught holding hands, blah, blah, blah. Malik, he's married at the time to a woman named Montana Yayo, whatever. It's a nice name. She's a pretty girl. Anyway, they have a son. He's young. I think he's 2 or something, or, real small. Mm-hmm. And she comes out. She's like, OMG, I'm shocked. I didn't know this. And then files for divorce from him on December 8th. Hollywood Life got the documents if you want to check them out. But anyway, the tea on this one is Larsa takes to Twitter to just kind of maybe clear her name a little bit, but it kind of backfired. Yeah. Because she goes on Twitter and she writes recently that Malik and Montana were separated before she met him. That's a fact. Follows it up with, quote, that's a fact. Fun part was Montana replies to the tweet and says, quote, this is 100% false. Continue to speak on my name and my relationship, and we're going to have issues. Receipts don't lie. Let's not go there. I think you've embarrassed yourself enough already. So, end quote. So, yeah, this love triangle is getting hot, but Malik still is hanging out with Larsa because there's all new photos of the two, like, hanging out in front of a Christmas tree and, like, doing all this fun Christmas stuff. So, I don't know. Shit's getting messy all up in there. They partied on a yacht for his birthday, his 24th birthday. Larsa's 46, by the way. Not that that matters, but hey, just saying.
Just saying.
But yeah, before it gets dirty up in here, let's talk about every single gift that Karl Anthony Towns got Jordan Woods for Christmas.
Now wait, your show notes say Kat did the most, but Larsa Pippen, I feel like does the most. Right? Like,
well, it depends what you're doing the most, what you're doing.
Okay, moving on. About those gifts that Kat got.
She definitely doing the most. But this is a family-friendly podcast. So, Kat's doing the most for Jordan Woods. And, I can't even argue because I'm just jealous of the 12,000 Chanel purses and 15 billion pairs of Nikes that he got her. And also the diamond phone, which I don't know if it worked, but it was cool. And yeah, he's just doing the most. I mean, they're in Louvre. as the kids say.
In love?
In love. You know, when people are like, let's go to the club. Now it's like, let's go to the club.
But what
That's
club?
what people say.
But what club? Clubs
well,
are
not anymore.
what clubs are people going to? Now
Yeah.
they're going to secret underground clubs. Yeah, don't get it twisted. That's what's happening. That's why COVID rates are still spiking around here. I don't know what's going on, people.
Club COVID.
Kat, listen, you and Jordan, happy for y'all. Do you, my man? It's been a rough year for Kat. You know, we talked about all the family members he lost and everything. So, my man, do you?
Yeah, props to them. I mean, they seem to be going strong, and the relationship. Oh, I just called it a shit relationship. It seems genuine. But did you like this next one that I put in the show?
I did. Well, because here's the thing. So go ahead. Let's just tee it up.
I put in the show notes because Jarod, lets me run wild with this gossip segment. I put, is Devin Booker upset he wasn't on the Kardashian family trips to Lake Tahoe and then Aspen, where they rented a multi-million-dollar house?
Well, it's so funny because I was on Instagram and I was looking at Kendall Jenner's page and she was snowboarding and I was like, oh, go ahead, Kenny, I see you doing her thing. Like, and I'm like, oh, where's D Book? I don't see any pictures of D Book out here. Now, granted, it is the NBA season, so he ain't got time for no Aspen trips. Dude's playing games, so. I don't think it's anything crazy going on, but have you heard anything? Are they
haven't heard too much. It's a little quiet now. I mean, they didn't appear to spend the holiday together, but she's super private, honestly. She is the most private of all of the Kardashian girls. I should say women now.
Yes,
the girls from the younger generation at this point.
That's Stormi and what's the other one's name?
Come on, Jarod. Stormi,
Chicago.
North.
Yep. Saint
Penelope.
Oh yeah.
Mason.
Okay. Oh my God. Jesus. Okay. Now we're wilding.
Wow.
We're wilding now. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
We're gonna be here for an hour. I'm gonna cut that into a nice clip though. Anyway. Yeah, I didn't expect D-Book to be around there during the holidays, but, I can't wait until that one photo pops up when it's, like, Travis Scott in the studio and D-Book is there for support and, like, Scott Disick's there for no reason. And Tristan's just chilling in the corner. Like, it's going to be amazing. Like, it really is.
Speaking of Tristan.
Speaking of Tristan, we got to talk about this one because he made headlines over the holiday, not because of the Celtics, but because people were assuming he was engaged to Khloe Kardashian. Yeah, she spotted out rocking a massive diamond ring. I'm sorry, if I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, my last name is Kardashian, the last thing I'm going to do is put on a massive diamond rock that like weighs 1 billion pounds and go out in public with my daughter in Boston.
Was it on the ring hand?
Yes, it was on that. Yeah, it was on the ring finger. She was spotted out with her daughter. She's been in Boston, going back and forth between there and LA because Tristan is now in Boston with the Celtics. And apparently they're going strong. I mean, they're back together. Hopefully he doesn't cheat. Again, Carrie Underwood, thank you for that song. But they're going strong. I mean, it was also interesting to see the care package that the Celtics sent Khloe for her and True with a bunch of gear. They got like coffee mugs, hats, everything. I think they got like a cake or something.
They got their own personalized jersey too? Personalized jerseys?
I think so. But it's going to be really interesting when True starts having play dates with Tatum's son. And then I'm going to lose my shit, really. Like, I'm really going to lose my shit.
You're gonna try to ship them, huh? But put them together.
Yeah. If he's at one of the Kardashian birthday parties, do you know the memories? Oh my God, the gift bags that they give?
So what you're saying is you would like to get invited to a Kardashian kid party so you can get a gift bag.
Yeah, how do you like apply to be like a nanny to one of these kids? Like, you know what I'm saying? No, that's off.
Yeah, they're gonna take one look at this podcast and be like, nope, not her.
Oh, 1,000%. They already probably like have my name there. Like, don't do this. It's never gonna work. All right, speaking of things that are working. Kuzma and Winnie Harlow. I mean, honestly, this is the cutest freaking couple I've literally ever seen in NBA history. They're going strong. They spent Christmas together. She bought a house in LA, her first one. I wonder why. Yeah, he just signed that nice little extension in LA. She knows she's going to be there for a minute.
Well, she hopes.
Had to get her own digs. But yeah, then she went to Aspen with her friends for a little ski trip, girls trip. So she's not with him at the moment. But yeah, they're going strong. And another couple that, thank God, isn't working, I don't think, is Jimmy Butler and Selena Gomez.
You are not a fan of the Jimmy Butler Selena Gomez thing. That's not your jam.
Because I want to run Big Face Coffee with him. We don't need to date, but Selena's going to be a distraction. That's it. What if he's tasting the beans and she's like, oh my God, I have to put out this song, leave me. I just, it wouldn't work. It would work better with me as a business partner. That is it.
All right, fair enough. Well, Jenna, that was I love the gossip segment. That's just, hey.
Are you excited what I brought to the table today? You probably thought I was gonna tank this shit.
No, I am very glad that you have all this dirt. This is, listen, the NBA is off the court life is messy if nothing else. So
oh, it is. I mean, you camp yourself outside a catch for a day, you're gonna see some shit.
Shoot.
That's it.
And we'll just leave it there.
All right, guys. Again, gossip segment, all in fun, real good stuff. We'll keep you posted on all of this. And again, most of the tea is coming from everybody's own social media. So
Yep.
You know what's up already. But let's talk about James Harden, because actually no one knows what's up with him whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's different in every team that you go to, because apparently everybody is trying to trade for him. But again, guys, let's remind you right now that he is a bit disgruntled, okay? The guy turned 31 in August, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's after, before, he asked for a trade in November. Rockets fizzle out. I mean, yeah, he's done so much for the team. They just can't get a chip. They can't really make it far in the postseason. So what's the latest draw? What are you hearing? Because right now I'm hearing 1,000 teams.
Well, I mean, look, the talks are still ongoing, but right now no one has made an offer that is enough for the Rockets to make the trade.
Right.
Excuse me. James Harden, for all the things you want to say about him, the one thing you have to say, this is a baller. This is a top 5 player in the league, all NBA, MVP, multiple time runner-up. He is that dude. Let's not get it twisted. If you're the Rockets, you have to get back value for him, right? You're like, I'm not just doing this just because. Okay, we get it. He doesn't want to be here, no problem. But he is under contract for 2 more years. So we're not just going to take nothing for him. So until we get a package that we think is commensurate with what we believe his value is, and really you're never getting equal value, but something we're willing to take, he's going to stay where he is. So it's going to be I think we're not going to see anything happen until maybe the trade deadline. I said keep an eye on Toronto. They have some pieces that may interest the Rockets. So, we'll see. And of course, Philly's always in the mix because of Daryl Morey being the head of basketball operations over there. But right now, nothing happening, but keep an eye.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's such a hard one with James Harden, too, because Jalen Rose put it perfectly. His game is an acquired taste. So no matter where you go, there really needs to be an adjustment on both ends. And again, it comes down to also, is Harden going to want to be the guy? Is he going to let someone be the guy?
Yeah.
Is he going to have control, or is he not going to have the ball?
That's the thing.
He's ball dominant. He has a very offensive, unique style of play. So that should be interesting. We shall see. Keep us posted on that, because really this one has a big question mark near it, if you ask me.
No doubt.
All right. Let's get into this a little bit. The NBA possibly expanding. Interesting. Right now, obviously, we have 30 teams, but NBA Commissioner Adam Silver recently said that the league may dust off some dormant expansion plans. So, which means this could open up prospects for cities to really ignite teams. I mean, hence the most talked about Seattle, the Sonics. I mean, let's not forget that epic era. Kevin Durant, hello. So what's going on with this? I mean, the fact that the league could expand, even talking about expansions, I mean, even bringing it up in a time like COVID is so interesting to me. And if this happens, the market, the dollar amount, the business, where do we even begin?
And that's where you hit the nail on the head. It's about the money and the business, right? So the Minnesota Timberwolves owner Glenn Taylor has the team up for sale right now, and it's a long process. And I think he wants a certain number, excuse me, but that number isn't being offered by people. We're starting to see a market correction, I think, in the price of NBA franchises. The Jazz just sold for a little over $1 billion. I think those prices are going to start to come down a little bit because, you know, the people who can afford to buy these teams aren't that liquid and don't have that kind of cash to take on these teams. But the reason why Adam and the NBA is talking expansion is because that's a way in which they can infuse the league with cash. Because you buy a franchise, and let's say it's $2 billion or whatever to open up a team in Seattle and Las Vegas. Each team can collect the check now, maybe like $150, $160 million. That will offset the losses they've been experiencing because of no fans in the arena, all the things that have been happening due to COVID over the past year plus now. So anytime you hear talks about expansion and major changes like this, it's about money. That's ultimately what it's about, right? And the league wants to find a way, how do we make up for this shortfall of cash that we've had due to the COVID-19 situation, the loss in TV revenue. Personally, I don't think we need 2 more teams. I think the league is great at 30 where it is. Like, that's just more games and more work for us. Like, you know what I mean? And then we'll have to realign everything. Because if you do Seattle and Vegas, well then, those are 2 teams that go in the Western Conference. Then you're going to move teams out of the West into the East. Obviously, the 2 teams.
Great point.
The 2 teams you think about there are New Orleans and Memphis, right? Because really, they should be Memphis for sure is an Eastern city anyway. So I don't even, you know what I mean? So that's sort of where we're looking at it when we think about that. But it's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, it's about the dollars.
Hey, I mean, Vegas would be a great trade destination for Harden.
Dear God. Dear God.
The amount of facial strength it took for me not to laugh while I said that and try to do a little like wispy eye.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that took a lot out of me. Interesting though, Glenn Taylor put the team up in 2012, 2015, backed out each time, and then did it in July. So we'll see if third time's a charm.
Maybe.
Never know.
Well, he wants whoever buys it to keep it in Minnesota. He doesn't want them to buy the team and then relocate it, which, you know, we'll see. Again, it's the amount of people who could actually buy a team it's not like there's a pool of like 10 million people. It's like 10 dudes, right? Like it's a small group of people who can afford to do this.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, we'll see how it all shakes out.
Right. That's why I love when they slap up the teams and they're like, yo, it's X billion dollars. And they're like, oh, which 3 of you want it?
Right,
like,
yeah.
No, it doesn't work like that.
It's crazy.
All right, let's talk about this. We're recording on January 5th here. So what are you looking forward to seeing coming up?
Yeah, so tonight we got about 4 or 5 games on the schedule. We talked about the Jazz Nets. I want to see how Brooklyn looks this week without Durant, and I want to see, particularly in that game tonight, it's going on right now as we're recording, how they're looking defensively. And then Nuggets, Timberwolves, I talked about the Nuggets, and I said they'd be leaking defensively at the start of the season. They are. You know, what do they look like tonight against a Minnesota team that they should beat? And Minnesota, like, hey, like, is this the year you guys try to give your fans like a chance at like the play-in, like that 9-10 seed, or are you just doing more of the same and Timberwolving and being Timber puppies and not very good? So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking at tonight. Timberwolving. You like that? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you said something before too. Team, and I thought it was a real word actually.
Timber puppying?
No, you said team camaraderie.
Oh, camaraderie. Yeah, is that a camaraderie? Yeah.
Oh my God. I was like, sure. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see not just anything specifically tonight. Of course, I want to see the Nets and the Jazz go at it without Durant, but I'm interested to see how Kyrie leads this team in the next couple games without Durant and now without Spencer Dinwiddie. I want to see if Kyrie can take this team and put it on his back and deliver wins, knowing Durant is out, because then that gives you a little bit of a foreshadow situation in the postseason. You don't need to exhaust the 2 of them, even though, of course, I mean, you could. They're incredible. But you know what I mean.
Do they start? Yeah.
how things change and how he carries this team and facilitates and keeps the chemistry going on the floor without Durant and Dinwiddie.
And do they start building a defensive identity? That's what I'm looking for.
Real quick, last note, since we're talking about the Nets and did so much in this podcast, what is your quick hot take on the coaching staff so far?
Look, I think Steve is learning on the fly, right? I mean, it's challenging, right? Because on the one hand, you have two established superstars in KD and Kyrie, and you have a lot of other guys who are still sort of like, developing the league and like just getting their footing. So I think Steve's doing as well as he can. I think he has the right temperament for this job because there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. And Steve is a pretty even-keeled guy, and that's what you need at the helm of this squad for sure.
I like it. And that concludes us tonight, guys. I mean, this is just too fun.
Always, guys. You know where to find us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We are on social media. We are at 7footerspod on Twitter, at 7footerspodcast on Instagram, at JS Hector, at Jenna Lemoncelli. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't hit back. I don't wanna trap, what's a man gonna do? Chevy told me come